The dark web. A hidden corner of the internet most people will never see. It's a place of secrets, danger, and legends that sound too terrifying to be true. But here's the chilling part. Some of these stories refuse to die. They are whispered in forums, shared in private chat rooms, and resurface again and again, like ghosts haunting the internet. Tonight, we dive deep into the top 10 creepiest dark web legends that refuse to die, and trust me, after this, you'll never look at the internet the same way again. Legend number 1, the Red Room. If you've heard of the dark web, you've probably heard of the Red Room. It's the most infamous legend of all time. The story goes like this. Somewhere hidden in the deep layers of the dark web, there exists a live stream where the unthinkable happens. Viewers don't just watch, they participate. By paying in cryptocurrency, they can supposedly vote on what happens next: torture, punishment, even death. The Red Room is said to be the ultimate nightmare, a place where cruelty is turned into entertainment. But here's the question, is it real? Most cybersecurity experts say no. They argue the logistics don't make sense. Streaming live from a hidden server while avoiding the FBI, all while collecting money? It's almost impossible, and yet, the legend persists. Why? Because countless users claim they've seen hidden links, password-protected forums, and disturbing screenshots. Some even say they tried to enter, only to be stopped by paywalls asking for thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. Were they scams? Almost certainly. But the idea of the Red Room, that somewhere people would actually watch such horrors live, is what makes the legend so chilling. Even if the Red Room never truly existed, its shadow still hangs over the dark web, and every year new claims surface saying it's back. It refuses to die. If the Red Room was about cruelty as entertainment, then the legend of the human experiment is about cruelty disguised as science. The story goes back to the early 2000s when whispers of a hidden website began spreading across dark web forums. It was called the human experiment. At first glance, it didn't look like a marketplace or a hacking forum. It looked like a database, a collection of journals, photos, and supposed research. But the subject of that research? Not animals. Not simulations? Humans? The legend, according to the legend, this site documented medical experiments on unwilling subjects. The so-called researchers claim they wanted to push science beyond ethical limits. They described tests with no anesthesia, drugs forced into veins at deadly doses, prolonged isolation experiments, exposure to extreme temperatures. Victims were allegedly taken from poor countries, people who wouldn't be missed and used as test subjects. And the photos, the legend says the site contained disturbing images of people strapped to hospital beds, their bodies marked with surgical scars, their eyes wide with terror, real or fake. Most cybersecurity experts believe the human experiment was a hoax. The site may have existed, but it was likely created to shock visitors, to play on the internet's darkest fears. The writing style was amateurish, the medical details were often unrealistic, and many of the images were suspected to be staged, possibly stolen from unrelated sources. But here's the disturbing part. People still believed it. And even if the site was fake, the idea behind it was so horrifying that it refused to fade away. Why it refuses to die every few years? The legend of the human experiment resurfaces. Someone claims to have found a new link, a new archive, a hidden mirror, and the internet shudders again. Because deep down, we know history is full of unethical experiments, from World War II atrocities to secret government projects. So when people hear about the human experiment, they wonder, what if it wasn't fake? What if someone really is doing this in the shadows? That question keeps the legend alive. The Red Room fed on fear of violence. The human experiment feeds on fear of science gone wrong. Both are said to be hidden on the dark web. Both refuse to die, and they're just the beginning. Because the next legend blurs the line between ghost stories and internet horror, a site so cursed, people claim it drives viewers insane. Legend number 3, Sad Satan. If the human experiment was about cruelty in the name of science, then Sad Satan was about corruption in the name of entertainment. In 2015, a small YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner claimed they discovered a game hidden deep inside the dark web. It wasn't on Steam, it wasn't on torrent sites. It was allegedly sent as a direct link from an anonymous subscriber. The game was called Sad Satan, and according to the uploader, it wasn't just strange, it was cursed. The game's content on the surface, Sad Satan looked like a broken indie horror game. Black and white hallways stretched endlessly. Distorted music scratched at the ears. Creepy whispering voices filled the silence, but then things got darker. Players reported hearing reversed audio of political speeches. Disturbing childlike screams. Images flashing on the screen for split seconds, bloody photos, crime scene pictures, even alleged references to child exploitation. There were no clear objectives. No way to win. The game simply dragged players through a nightmare loop. The most haunting detail? People who claimed to have downloaded it said the files themselves were infected, filled with Trojans and malware. Some even believed the game monitored their system, tracking them long after they stopped playing, real or hoax. When the channel released their videos, the internet exploded with curiosity. Everyone wanted to find a copy of Sad Satan, but the only available versions online were either corrupted or fake recreations by fans. The original source link disappeared, and the uploader, Obscure Horror Corner, went silent soon after, fueling even more conspiracy theories. Was Sad Satan a real dark web game, or just a clever hoax designed to gain views? To this day, no one knows. Why it refuses to die. The legend of Sad Satan continues because it plays on one of the internet's biggest fears, that something seemingly harmless, like a game, could infect your life in ways you can't escape. It also ties into urban myths of cursed media, songs that drive listeners insane, videos that kill viewers within days, games that never let you stop playing. But unlike most creepypasta, Sad Satan felt different. It wasn't just a story on a forum. It came with video footage, commentary, and real-world consequences. And that's why the legend sticks. Because even if it was fake, someone out there created something so disturbing, so carefully designed to unsettle, that people still whisper about it nearly a decade later. The Red Room exploited fear of violence. The human experiment tapped into fear of unethical science and Sad Satan. It preyed on our fear of technology itself, a reminder that sometimes the things we play with might just end up playing with us. But this isn't the end, because the next legend comes not from games, but from whispers of the most cursed website ever made, a site so infamous its very name became a warning, Zalgo's Domain. Legend number 4, Rotten.com, before TikTok, before YouTube. Before social media ruled the internet, there was a website whispered about on school playgrounds, shared between friends like a forbidden secret. That site was Rotten.com. Launched in the late 1990s, Rotten.com didn't hide on the dark web. It was out in the open, accessible to anyone with a simple browser. But what it showed wasn't meant for anyone to see. The content Rotten.com became infamous for hosting the most disturbing images imaginable. Car accidents, graphic crime scenes, medical anomalies, uncensored photos of death and mutilation. There were no warnings. No filters, no age gates. You clicked a link, and suddenly you were staring at something you could never unsee. For many young internet users in the early 2000s, Rotten.com was their first taste of forbidden knowledge. The realization that the web could show you the darkest corners of reality, real or fake. Unlike the Red Room or Sad Satan, Rotten.com was very real. It wasn't a myth. It wasn't an urban legend. The site operated for nearly 2 decades, constantly uploading shocking material. And while some of the content was staged or reused from tabloids, much of it was authentic, real police photos, real accident victims, real tragedy. It was a digital freak show, built on shock value. Why it refuses to die, so why does Rotten.com still haunt the internet's memory? Because for an entire generation it was a rite of passage. People dared each other to look. Curiosity pulled them in, and once you saw it, you couldn't forget it. It left scars, not just on individuals, but on the culture of the internet itself. Rotten.com represented the first time people truly realized the web had no limits. No rules, no one to stop you from falling into the abyss. Even after the site shut down in 2017, its reputation lived on. Screenshots, copies, and re-uploads spread like ghosts. And to this day, the word rotten still sends a chill. To those who know what it means, rotten.com was not just a website. It was proof that the internet could reach into reality and drag out its darkest truths. And while Rotten was about showing what already existed, the next legend is even creepier, because it's not about reality as we know it. It's about a cursed corner of the web where reality itself seems to bend and break, a place whispered about as if it were haunted. Legend number 5. Cicada 3301. Not all dark web legends are about gore, death, or cursed games. Some are about mystery. And sometimes mystery itself can be terrifying. In 2012, internet forums lit up with a strange post. It was a simple black image with white text. "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals." It was signed with a symbol of a cicada insect. And below it was a cryptic code. This was the birth of Cicada 3301. The puzzle begins. The code wasn't just random text. It was a puzzle that led deeper and deeper into the internet. Those who tried solving it found themselves uncovering hidden websites, phone numbers, Tor links, and even physical posters placed in random cities across the world. It felt like a global scavenger hunt. But unlike an ordinary puzzle, this one had no clear reward. People who got far claimed they were contacted privately. Some said they received additional challenges. Others disappeared completely from the discussion. Why it was so disturbing at first glance, Cicada 3301 felt like a fun mystery. But as the puzzles grew more complex, people realized they weren't just solving riddles. The challenges demanded deep knowledge of cryptography, ancient literature, music theory, and even hidden coding languages. It was almost as if the people behind Cicada 3301 were testing recruits for something bigger, something secret, but for what? No one ever gave a clear answer. Theories over the years, dozens of theories emerged. Some believed Cicada 3301 was a recruitment tool for intelligence agencies like the CIA or NSA. Others thought it was a hacker collective, searching for new members. And then came the darker theories that it was a cult or a secret society or even something connected to the dark web's most disturbing corners. The truth? No one knows. What made Cicada 3301 so chilling wasn't what it showed, but what it hid. Every layer of the puzzle felt like a descent into something bigger, something just beyond reach. And the fact that people vanished from online discussions after progressing only made the mystery worse. Why it refuses to die even today. Cicada 3301 is remembered as one of the internet's greatest unsolved mysteries. No one ever officially won? No one ever revealed the group's true purpose. Every time a new code appears online, people wonder, is Cicada back? The legend refuses to die because it plays on a universal fear, the fear that behind the screen, someone powerful and hidden is always watching. From gore-filled sites like rotten.com, to cursed games like Sad Satan, to puzzles like Cicada 3301, dark web legends take many forms. Some shock you, some scar you, and some make you question reality itself. But all of them share one thing. They remind us that the internet, no matter how familiar it feels, still hides places we may never truly understand. Legend number 6, Silk Road. When people hear dark web, the first image that comes to mind isn't a red room or a cursed game. It's a marketplace. And none was bigger or more infamous than Silk Road. The birth of Silk Road in 2011, a hidden website appeared on the Tor network. It called itself Silk Road, named after the ancient trade routes connecting East and West, but unlike the historical Silk Road, this one wasn't about silk or spices. It was about drugs, weapons, and illegal services. It quickly became the Amazon of the dark web. Sellers from around the world posted their products. Buyers could browse, leave reviews, and order with just a few clicks. Payments were made in Bitcoin, which was still new at the time. This made transactions nearly untraceable. Why it was so disturbing? The idea of Silk Road terrified governments. It showed that the internet could host a fully functioning underground economy outside of laws, taxes, and borders. On Silk Road, you could find illegal drugs delivered to your doorstep, fake IDs and passports, stolen credit card information, even alleged hitmen for hire. It was like peeking into a parallel world, a world where the rules didn't exist. For many ordinary people, Silk Road became their first real proof that the dark web wasn't just myths, it was real. And it was massive. The rise and fall for 2 years, Silk Road operated in the shadows. Its founder, known only as Dread Pirate Roberts, was treated like a folk hero by some, a rebel against government control. But in 2013, the FBI shut it down. Ross Ulbricht, the man behind the name, was arrested in a public library. He was later sentenced to life in prison. But here's the thing, the Silk Road's fall didn't end the legend, it only made it bigger. Why it refuses to die even after the original site was shut down, dozens of copycats popped up. Silk Road 2.0, Silk Road 3.0, and countless other black markets. Each time one was taken down, another would rise. That cycle proved something chilling. You can't kill the idea. Silk Road wasn't just a website, it was a movement. And today, it's remembered as the place where the dark web stepped out of legend and into reality. The Red Room was about violence. The Human Experiment about twisted science. Sad Satan about cursed games, Rotten.com about unfiltered horror. Cicada about hidden power, and Silk Road. It was about greed, the kind that builds empires and destroys lives, but we're not done yet. Because the next legend pushes the boundaries even further into whispers of the darkest kind of crime imaginable. A place where the line between myth and nightmare completely vanishes. Legend number 7, Mariana's Web. If Silk Road proved that the dark web is real, then Mariana's Web is the legend that suggests we've only scratched the surface. The internet we see, Google, YouTube, social media, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies the deep web, databases and files not indexed by search engines. And beneath that lies the dark web, hidden by encryption. But according to legend, beneath even the dark web, there's something deeper. Something called Mariana's Web. The story, the name comes from the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Just like the trench, Mariana's Web is said to be the deepest, most hidden layer of the internet. Unlike the dark web, you can't just download Tor and enter. The legend says you need quantum computers, specialized algorithms, and access codes passed only among elites. And what lies inside? That's where the nightmare begins. The content, some say Mariana's Web is where classified government secrets are stored. Files too dangerous for even the CIA or NSA to keep above ground. Others whisper it's where the world's most powerful criminals operate, sharing human trafficking networks, weapon blueprints, and experiments never meant for the public eye. The darkest theories go even further, claiming Mariana's Web is controlled by artificial intelligence, an all-seeing digital entity that monitors humanity, deciding who gets access and who disappears, real or fake. Here's the truth. Most cybersecurity experts agree that Mariana's Web, as described in these legends, doesn't exist. There's no proven layered map of the internet. There's no evidence of a secret level that requires quantum computing. The stories most likely started on forums where users mixed real concepts with exaggerated myths. But like all powerful legends, the lack of evidence makes it even scarier. Because if such a place did exist, wouldn't it look exactly like a myth? Why it refuses to die. The legend of Mariana's Web won't go away because it taps into our deepest fear, that no matter how much we think we know, there's always something hidden deeper. Just like the ocean, the internet feels endless. And if the Mariana Trench hides creatures we've never seen, why couldn't the internet hide horrors we can't imagine? Mariana's Web isn't about what we know. It's about what we don't know. And sometimes that's more terrifying than any Red Room or cursed game. Because while gore and violence can shock you, the idea of an entire hidden world, out of reach, yet always there, is what keeps people awake at night. Legend number 8. The Shadow Web. If the dark web feels like a hidden alley of the internet, then the shadow web is rumored to be the black hole, a place even darker than the dark web itself. While Tor gives us access to hidden sites, the shadow web is said to require special software, private keys, and invitations that only the most dangerous people in the world can provide. It isn't just about being hidden. It's about being invisible. The story The Shadow Web began as a rumor on hacker forums. Whispers of an even deeper network, where the worst kinds of websites thrive away from all eyes. According to legend, the shadow web isn't just illegal, it's unspeakable. This is where red rooms supposedly operate freely, where black markets sell things even Silk Road never dared, and where forbidden knowledge circulates books, documents, and videos that humanity was never meant to see. Some stories claim the shadow web is where the world's most powerful people operate in secrecy: politicians, corporations, and even rogue governments. Why it's so disturbing. What makes the shadow web terrifying is that, unlike rotten, calm, or sad Satan, there's no proof it exists. And that's what makes it worse. Because if something can hide so well, how could we ever know what's inside? The legends say people who try to reach the shadow web never come back. Their systems are destroyed, their identities stolen. Some even vanish completely from online records. Whether true or not, these stories feed into the idea that the shadow web isn't just a place, it's a trap, real or fake. Cybersecurity experts often dismiss the shadow web as a myth. They argue it's just another name for the deepest layers of the dark web. But then again, that's exactly what people said about Silk Road until the FBI dragged it into the light. So, is the shadow web real, or just the internet's version of a ghost story? The answer may never come. Why it refuses to die? The shadow web legend refuses to die because it represents ultimate fear, the idea that no matter how much of the internet we think we've explored, there's always a darker room waiting. People love to believe in monsters hiding under the bed. And on the internet, the shadow web is that monster. From cursed games to gore sites, from Silk Road to Mariana's web, every legend has left its mark. But the shadow web, it reminds us of something primal. That the scariest things are not always what we can see, but what stays hidden, lurking in the shadows. Legend number 9, Cannibal Cafe. If Rotten.com was about shock, and the shadow web about fear of the unknown, then Cannibal Cafe was about something darker, a horror so primal it feels unreal. The story: in the late 1990s and early 2000s, rumors began circulating about a website known as Cannibal Cafe. It wasn't hiding on Tor or buried in secret directories. It existed in plain sight for a while, and that's what made it so horrifying. The site allegedly served as a meeting place for people who fantasized about cannibalism. Visitors could post ads, share stories, and even seek out partners for what they called consensual cannibal experiences. Yes, consensual. The legend says users weren't just joking. Some truly wanted to be eaten. Others wanted to do the eating. The real case. The most infamous connection to this legend was the case of Armin Meiwes in Germany, often nicknamed the Rotenburg Cannibal. In 2001, Meiwes met a man online who agreed to be killed and eaten. They connected through a forum eerily similar to Cannibal Cafe. This wasn't a myth. This wasn't creepypasta. It was real. Meiwes filmed the entire event. He was later arrested, and his trial became global news. The revelation shocked people, not just because of the crime, but because it confirmed the darkest fear, that these online forums weren't jokes, they were real, and they could lead to real-world horror. Why it's so disturbing. The Cannibal Cafe legend terrifies people because it strips away the safety net of, it's just a story. Unlike Sad Satan, unlike Red Rooms, this one left evidence. It showed that the internet could connect the darkest corners of the human mind and make the unthinkable possible. What makes it worse is that, even after the site was shut down, copies and spin-offs appeared in other corners of the web. The hunger never really went away, real or fake. The original Cannibal Cafe website did exist, but whether it directly facilitated crimes is debated. Some say it was more about fantasy roleplay. Others believe it was a hunting ground for predators. Either way, its connection to real cases like Armin Meiwes cemented its place in internet legend. Why it refuses to die even today. People whisper about forums and private chat rooms where similar discussions continue. The Cannibal Cafe legend refuses to die because it isn't just about the internet. It's about us. About the terrifying fact that the darkest monsters aren't always hidden in the shadows. Sometimes they're human. Rotten.com showed gore, Silk Road sold drugs. The shadow web hid secrets, but Cannibal Cafe? It proved the most disturbing websites are not always about pixels or code. They're about people, Legend number 10, the Markovian Parallax Denigrate. There are disturbing websites filled with gore, illegal markets hidden in the dark web, and even forums like Cannibal Cafe that connect the darkest of desires. But some legends aren't about blood or violence. Some are about mystery. And that's what makes them even scarier. The mystery begins in 1996. Users of the early internet discovered something strange. On Usenet, one of the first discussion platforms, random posts began appearing under the username Markovian Parallax Denigrate. But these weren't normal messages. They weren't conversations, they were long strings of nonsense words, sentences that looked like English but made no sense at all. Like neon undead communication window parallax rotary denigrate shimmering velocity. Thousands of these strange posts flooded different groups, and no one could figure out why. Theories over the years, the legend of Markovian Parallax Denigrate grew. People came up with theories, some logical, others terrifying. A broken bot, some said it was just an early internet bot experiment. Maybe someone was testing random word generation? The name Markovian might even come from Markov chains, a type of algorithm. A hidden code. Others believed it was encrypted messages hidden inside nonsense text. Perhaps spies were using Usenet to secretly communicate during the Cold War, something darker. And then came the scarier theory that these weren't just codes, they were signals, to whom no one knows. Why, it's creepy. The posts had no context, no sender that could be traced, and no real explanation. Some researchers tried decoding them. Some claimed to find patterns, others said it was all meaningless, but the truth? No one has ever solved it, not fully. And the username itself, Markovian Parallax Denigrate, feels like a riddle, a name that taunts you. The legend lives on even today. The phrase Markovian Parallax Denigrate is whispered on Reddit threads, dark web forums, and conspiracy boards. People still wonder if it was an experiment, a government code, or maybe something paranormal. It refuses to die because it taps into one of the deepest fears of the internet, the unknown. Why it matters. The gore sites shock us. The red rooms terrify us, the dark markets tempt us, but this shows us something worse. That sometimes the scariest thing online isn't what you understand. It's what you don't. Because at least with gore, you know it's real. With drugs, you know the risks. But with Markovian Parallax Denigrate, you don't know anything. And maybe you're not supposed to. Closing words. The internet is full of disturbing legends. Some proven real, some hoaxes, some mysteries that never die. And whether it's rotten.com, Cannibal Cafe, or the Markovian Parallax Denigrate, one truth remains. The web doesn't just connect people. It connects nightmares.